What attachment theory says is the longing for a felt sense of connection is a primary need, especially it comes up when we're threatened. Emotional isolation is inherently traumatizing. This is wired into your nervous system. This is not cultural. This is not about cultural context. This is just who you are as a human being. Basically, connection with others is the best survival strategy we ever came up with as a species. And isn't it interesting in this virus that's happening, physical connection with others is challenged, but I trust us. We can still find ways to stay emotionally connected. I don't know if you guys saw this amazing YouTube that's going around of people in Italy standing out on their balconies singing to each other. This warmed my heart. They're singing to each other. Only in Italy would they sing. I don't know quite what they do in Canada. Say, oh dear, would you like some tea or something? But in Italy, they sing to each other. They're keeping the emotional connection because emotional isolation primes helplessness in us. Safe haven connection calms our nervous system, gives us emotional balance, and tells us that distress is manageable. So then we can stay engaged with that distress. We can find a way through it rather than avoiding it, shutting it down, fighting it, whatever. Right? So people need safe haven. I reach out and I touch her. I'm trying to give her safe haven. I'm telling her, you're not alone in your pain. Balance, emotional balance, helps us develop a coherent, positive sense of self where we can look inside, feel our needs, and listen to our needs and know how to get those needs met with other people. That's what it does. We need a felt sense of secure base. When we know that people have our back, when we know that we're not alone in the world, this gives us confidence. Attachment is not just about comfort. Attachment is about growth. People have secure base. It primes a sense of competence, autonomy, effective dependency. It's the little kid who knows that he can cry and mummy will come, who knows that mummy's watching him, who can take the risk to go down the slide and see if he can do it. So the more emotionally connected we are, the more securely attached we are, the more separate and autonomous we can be. This is not an abstract idea, guys. This is not a theory. This has been borne out in thousands of studies, right? So in psychology and in couples therapy and in our interventions, when we put, closeness on one end and autonomy on the other, when we tell people they shouldn't have these dependency needs as adults, we're making a big mistake. Close connection and the ability to be separate and confident about yourself and go out into the world and keep your emotional balance are two sides of the same coin. What defines the quality of a bond and gives us emotional balance? Oh, I don't know. That's a big question. It's like saying, what is love? It's a question that we've solved. ARE, emotional accessibility, responsiveness, and engagement defines the quality of the bond. And when you feel that coming from another person, your nervous system calms down. You can process information differently. When we don't have that sense of connection, we go into separation distress. We go into panic, protest, clinging, seeking. You see this in couples. In EFT for couples, we're clear that it's emotional disconnection. That's the virus. Conflict is just the inflammation. It's emotional disconnection. People are in separation distress. They lose their balance. If you don't believe me, all you competent therapists out there, I invite you to think about what happens when the person who's most important to you in the world looks at you, as my husband does sometimes, raises his left eyebrow and uses a certain tone of voice where you get that you have crossed a line and done something very bad, and you're going to have rejection cues. I invite you to think about what happens to you. I assure you, I do not stay calm, balanced, and skilled. I do what everyone else does, which is my nervous system goes, oh my God, this is dangerous. So we understand the distress people get into when they find themselves alone in the world. Key interactions are enshrined in mental models of self and other. in expectations, biases, and procedural strategies. And people say, this is the way I am, this is the way others are, this is the way the world is. And we say, no, this is the way that you've shaped it right now, and we're going to shape it differently. Expectations become self-reinforcing. Securely attached people can acknowledge their needs, send coherent messages, take in, give care. They can be resilient in the face of trauma. Insecurely attached people, anxiously attached people get hyper aroused and get upset. Natalie says, I freak out at work, I freak out, that's why I got fired. I start to yell in meetings. Sometimes she gets anxious, other times she shuts down, she numbs out, right? Anxiously attached people lose their emotional balance. And they want lots of connection with other people, but they don't know how to ask for it and they don't know how to take it in. Avoidantly attached people shut down, minimize their needs, run away, say, I don't need other people, I'm not going to feel my feelings, right? I don't need my feelings, I'm just going to skate along the surface of life. And what we call fearful avoidant, they're trauma survivors, they flit between anxious and avoidant. So you can read the EFT literature and find out all kinds of things about these styles, these strategies for dealing with your emotion, engaging with others, right? The issue is there's nothing wrong with any of them. They can all be useful at times, unless they get rigid, generalized, and put people into a straitjacket, which is most of the clients you see. Insecurity, which is a personality variable, and it's the way a relationship plays out. Insecurity is a risk factor for all problems, all disorders, all mental problems. And the last thing is that as adults, we still have all this going on. However, adult attachment is reciprocal, we care for each other, and it's held in cognitive representations. It's got sexual elements, caretaking elements, but it's held in cognitive representations. You don't need your mother there like you do a little child. You carry your mother in your mind. And that means that we can work with those attachment relationships in therapy. I say, close your eyes, can you see your mother? By the way, you saw me going into pain there. I want to stress that we also use that in a positive way. I'm working with a very traumatized lady right now. And what I did with Heather before I went into her pain, as you saw me doing here, was I asked her if there was anyone ever in her life who ever gave her any kind of support. And she had a very hard time talking to me about that. But finally I said, can you tell me a time when you're growing up when you felt powerful? And she said, and can't you feel this in your body as I tell you this? She said, yes, I went to the gym and I was good at it. I was good at it. I was the best. I was the best. They thought I'd be a champion. I said, what were you the best at? She said, oh, the balance beam. I said, close your eyes and tell me about the balance beam. She said, oh, I can feel my feet on the beam. I can feel it. They're solid. My feet are on the beam. I know how to find the beam. And I run along the beam, and I know I can do it. And I breathe and I feel 1, 2, 3, and I leap in the air and I can feel it. And I know I'm going to land, and I find the beam again, and I'm solid. And I look up, and my coach's face says to me, good, 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 you can do this. And we use that image of her coach's face and that balance beam again and again in therapy to take her into a place of balance, a place of calm, a place of competence and worth. So, you know, I don't always go straight into people's pain. I'll use the process you just saw, and I'll stay with creating a positive moment of attachment connection, a positive physical feeling of power and competence as well, right? Because I'm using cognitive representations.